After the first 3 rounds of All-Star voting, Luka Doncic stands at number 2 in the Western Conference behind only LeBron James and 3rd in the entire NBA behind LeBron and Giannis. While it's pretty ridiculous that Luka Doncic has received more All-Star votes than James Harden, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and more on the basis of who is the best player, the All-Star game isn't necessarily about who is the best player. That's why fans get to vote and teams get to promote players like Tim Hardaway Jr. or... Wait. No, Wait, you want me to... Cleveland, you want me to vote for Tristan Thompson? Obviously, neither of these players should make it, but that didn't stop people from voting 450,000 times for DeMarcus Cousins before he played a single game, or 764,000 times for Lonzo Ball, who has the worst free throw percentage in the entire NBA, or 1.7 million times for Dwayne Wade over Kemba Walker, Victor Oladipo, and Bradley Beal. However, Luka has qualifications that none of those players have. While it may be ridiculous that he has more votes than Steph Curry, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, it's not so crazy that Luka could actually become an All-Star in his rookie year. Let's break down why Luka Doncic should be an All-Star this season and how he could actually make the team. First, let's look at his qualifications. Luka is currently averaging 20.3 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 5.1 assists. Only 2 19-year-olds have ever averaged 25 and 5 for a season, and they're the 2 leading vote getters in the Western Conference. In fact, the only teenagers to ever average 20 points per game in the NBA are LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, Kevin Durant, and now Luka Doncic. But this isn't about what other players have done at his age. If Luka is going to be an All-Star, he has to be compared to the players in the league right now. There are currently only 9 players in the NBA averaging 20 points, 5 boards, and 5 assists per game. 6 of them are automatic perennial All-Stars: Harden, Giannis, Durant, Curry, LeBron, Westbrook. Then there's 2 guys that will probably be All-Stars this season and have been in the past in Blake Griffin and DeMar DeRozan. And then there's Luka Doncic, who is the youngest player in that group by 5 years and is also averaging the least amount of minutes per game. In fact, there are only 4 players in NBA history to average 25 and 5 in 32 minutes per game or less, and that's Luka, Steph Curry, Russell Westbrook, and the guy named Ray Williams back in the 80s. So he's putting up historically great numbers for his age and time on the court, and he's getting better as the season goes on. Here are his stats through the first 24 games and then his last 19 games. And then there's his clutch stats. For most of the season, Luka has been leading the league in clutch field goal percentage, but right now he's dropped to 2nd among all players in the NBA that have taken at least 40 clutch shots. Luka only trails Nikola Jokic in clutch field goal percentage. And according to The Ringer, Luka leads all players this season with 16 shots to tie or take the lead in the clutch. And those clutch moments also help his All-Star campaign. Luka has what several other players in contention don't have: signature moments. These are the moments that inspire many of the videos on this channel, like his 11-0 personal run against the Houston Rockets.
Matthews moves it along. Luka, open corner 3. That is what the doctor ordered. With Houston having an 8-point lead, then cut to 5, and now cut to 2.
Crowd waiting for Luka to do something special.
It has gotten mighty loud in here right now as the Mavericks have scored 6 straight. It's all been Luka, and now he makes it 8 straight. How's that for Luka magic? Screen by DeAndre. Capella switched on to Luka. Luka with the step back 3. Oh yeah!
Or his shot with time expiring to send the game into overtime against the Trailblazers.
Before Thanksgiving.
Indeed.
Got it.
There it is. Corner, Luka!
Oh! Goes in! How did he do it? How did he do it? That is Luka magic!
Or his go-ahead shot against Minnesota with 18 seconds left on the shot clock.
Now 30 seconds left. Mavs are out of timeouts. Jordan got the ball back for Dallas.
That's
Luka,
good.
he'll stop, he'll pop, he'll hit. 3-ball Dallas, 2-point lead on the road. He is one cool cat.
Along with his stats and moments, Luka has received high praise from many of the league's biggest figures, including Warriors head coach Steve Kerr.
He sure looks like an all-star. So whether he makes it or not, he's an all-star. Certain guys just stand out. You see what they do. You see what they mean to the game. And if he doesn't make it this year, he's going to make it soon enough.
And Kerr knows a few things about all-stars. Draymond Green also considers Luka an all-star caliber player.
He's an all-star player, so I don't know if he'll be an all-star per se. He's definitely an all-star talent, that's for sure.
Then, of course, there's LeBron James, who named Luka in his list of players he'd absolutely want to play with.
Go ahead, all of them. Luka Doncic. Ask me right now. Come on, guys. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. These are great players, absolutely. I would love to play with a lot of great players. That's just who I am.
Charles Barkley even got Shaq to agree with him when he said Luka should be an all-star.
I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Hope that's a strong limb.
He should make it though, Doncic.
I'm looking at the list, Ernie, looking at all the teams. I think Doncic will make the All-Star team.
He should.
Not just by the fans either.
So Luka's putting up great numbers, major figures around the league consider him to be an all-star caliber player, and the fans obviously want to see him play. But could he actually make the team? Let's break down the Western Conference All-Star team and how Luka could possibly earn a spot. There is a rumor going around that all-star team captains cannot repeat their roles as captains the following year, so since LeBron was the captain last season, there would be a chance Luka could be a captain this year, since he received the second most votes in the West. But Bleacher Report's Howard Beck squashed that rumor a few days ago. Luka could be named a starter, but it kind of feels like a long shot. 50% of the starters' vote comes from the fans voting. 25% of the vote comes from a media panel, which is a mixed bag of Luka lovers and he can't play in the All-Star game as a rookie-ers. And the last 25% of the vote comes from players themselves. And it's hard to imagine players voting in a rookie, but it could happen. In each conference, there's 5 starters, 3 front court, and 2 guard spots. And even though Luka is playing a lot of guard right now, he's been categorized as a front court player in All-Star voting. So let's look at his route to the All-Star game as a front court player. As a captain, LeBron would count as one of those 3 front court starters. So unless the media panel and or players votes Luka over 3 of Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, Paul George, or Nikola Jokic, it doesn't look like Luka will be a starter. It could still happen, but it doesn't seem likely. If Luka doesn't get voted in as a starter by the fan, media, players conglomerate, his next chance to be voted in by the coaches. The coaches decide which players make up the bench for the All-Star game. In each conference, there are 3 front court bench players and 2 guard spots and 2 wild card spots that can be filled by either type of player. If the 3 starting front court players are LeBron, Durant, and Anthony Davis, then 2 of the bench spots should probably go to Jokic and Paul George, who have each been the best player on a top 3 team in the West. The last front court bench spot is probably going to go to Karl Anthony Towns if the players value individual performance, or Rudy Gobert if they value team performance better. Let's say Towns locks up that last front court bench spot, so there are 2 wildcard spots available. If the 2 starting guards are Steph Curry and James Harden, and the 2 backup guards are Damian Lillard and Russell Westbrook, then in my opinion, that leaves the 2 wildcard spots to be chosen from this pool of players: Rudy Gobert, DeMar DeRozan, Luka Doncic, Klay Thompson, Tobias Harris, De'Aaron Fox, and Jrue Holiday. That's a tough group to distinguish yourself in. And at that point, it all depends on what the coaches value more: team success, individual success, representation for playoff teams, reputation, etc. DeMar DeRozan is averaging 21, 6, and 6 on a surging Spurs team that has entrenched themselves in a playoff spot. He fits both categories of team success and individual performance, and I think he'll get one of the wildcard spots. Rudy Gobert is leading the league in field goal percentage and averaging 15 points, 13 boards, 2 assists, and 2 blocks, and the Jazz have the 2nd best defensive rating in the West and the 2nd best record in the NBA since December 19th. These 2 are probably the biggest threats to Luka in the wildcard spots. Klay Thompson is a 4-time All-Star, but his shooting has slipped this season, which is tough if that's your main offensive function, and the Warriors are already going to get potentially 2 All-Star starters. They're not dominating the standings like they have in the past, so it's hard to see them get more than just those 2. Tobias Harris is scoring 20 points per game, shooting almost 50, 40, 90 on a good Clippers team that probably deserves representation. The Clippers have slumped lately and have a worse record than the Mavs since December 2nd. De'Aaron Fox is having an incredible year on a much improved Kings team that is just on the outside of the playoffs, and he's had some moments of his own this season. He's a real threat, but he hasn't had the publicity that Luka has. I think he's right there with Luka, but if it came down to it, I don't think he would make it over him. Then Jrue Holiday, he's having a fine season, but it's hard to get 2 All-Stars from one team, especially one that's out of the playoffs. But even if Luka doesn't make the cut for one of those wildcard spots, there's still a way for him to make the All-Star team. Injury replacement. Last season, 3 players were injured and replacements were chosen to take their place on the roster. And some guys have already missed time this year. LeBron James has missed 12 games so far this season with a groin strain. Now, it looks like he's going to come back, but if he re-aggravates it or something comes up, Luka could replace him as the captain or even as a starter. Anthony Davis is now expected to be out for a week or so, and he's already missed 5 games this season with various injuries. And he missed 7 games in each of the last 2 seasons with various injuries. Kevin Durant had an ankle sprain on December 23rd, and last season he missed 6 games with a rib fracture, 3 games with a calf strain, 1 game with a thigh contusion, and missed 4 out of 5 games with an ankle sprain. Nikola Jokic missed 7 consecutive games last season with an ankle injury, and he came off the bench for the next 2 games. He's been healthy this season, but you never know. Paul George has only missed 1 game with a quad injury so far on December 28th. In the guard spot, Steph Curry has missed 11 games this season with a groin injury, and last season he missed 17 games with a right ankle injury and 16 games with a knee injury. While Westbrook missed 2 games to start the season and 6 games with an ankle injury, and James Harden has missed 3 games so far this year with a knee injury. So there's a lot of different vulnerable candidates, and you never know, some crazy injury could happen between now and the All-Star game, but that's probably Luka's best shot to be able to make the All-Star team this year. So that's how Luka Doncic could make the All-Star team. Either be voted in as a starter, selected for a bench spot, or replace an injured player. It might be a long shot, but he's in the conversation, which is kind of amazing in and of itself. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter @NickVanExit. And if you want to hear more Mavs talk, subscribe to the Locked On Mavericks podcast, where Isaac Harris and I drop 5 to 6 episodes every week discussing all the news, rumors, and Luka magic. There's links to almost every platform in the description below. Thanks for watching. Boom.